And thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Armor Your Encryption Keys in SafeNet Luna Network HSM. We have two speakers today. Our first speaker is Bob Earl, Senior Director of Product at Accellion, and our second speaker is Mark Royal, Senior Manager of Marketing for Thales. Welcome and enjoy the content.
Thanks, Tammy. This year, Accellion and Thales formed a partnership to bring our customers a new integration of the Accellion platform with the Thales HSM. We delivered that this summer in August. This is an integration our customers asked for, and we also viewed it as strategic because it delivers on our security mission. Now, today we have a lot of different kinds of people viewing the presentation, from security managers and sysadmins through project managers and even some business consultants. So we'll try to cover this in as broad a way as possible. So for those of you who don't know much or even anything about hardware security modules, we'll provide a little background on the technology, the benefits for customers, what problems it solves, as well as some background on Thales, the company itself. And for those of you who already know a lot about it, we'll talk about the motivation for why we did this integration and give you a look at what value it provides, how we went about it a little bit, and roughly how to size your effort to do the integration. And then we'll finish up with a quick Q&A, and we'll try to get you out of here in 30 minutes. So the Accellion platform has a lot of different communication channels or use cases that you can use it for. Most of our customers use it for maybe 2, 3 out of this list, but it goes anywhere from secure file sharing, where you're going to have some files sitting on the disk for months, maybe years. Sometimes it's a secure email is the primary application, where the document gets buffered or the attachments get buffered during the transfer, and then eventually they disappear after, say, 30 days, whatever you've set your expirations for. But in some cases, people keep things on the disk literally for 7 years or 10 years to meet certain compliance regulations. So it's kind of all over the map how long files sit on the box. And even, if you scroll down to the bottom of the list there, remote users accessing enterprise content maybe through their mobile device, even there, content sits on the drive. It gets buffered on the drive for some amount of time while they're doing collaboration before they write it back to the source system. So the system definitely stores data. We provide strong AES 256 encryption. We have hardening on the server, even intrusion detection. A lot of things go on to try to safeguard that data that's inside the server, and a lot of complexity goes into the way we manage the keys and use them. So if we do all that, why on earth would you need an HSM? And one of the reasons is a lot of companies have a corporate security policy that requires it for compliance reasons or for the extra level of security that it provides, and we'll go into that in a couple of minutes. And part of the reason, too, is if that's part of your security infrastructure, we have a policy on our side that our products should support your entire security infrastructure so that you never have to do anything twice or a second way. So having that integration with your HSM is important from that point of view. But there's also the practical reasons, how it really helps prevent breaches, because it provides an extra layer of protection. It's a separate physical server, so now anything that gets accessed on the Accellion server, you have keys on both sides. You need to have access to both boxes and involve both of them in the decryption process. And also, the keys that are in that HSM are protected in tamper-proof hardware. Very strong protection that Mark's going to go into it in a minute. Mark?
Thank you, Bob, and thank you, everyone, for being on this call and this session. Before jumping into HSMs, as Bob said, I'll talk a second here just about Thales, just to make sure people understand who we are, and also at least how to pronounce our name, which is Thales, like Alice. We're a French company headquartered in Paris, France, a pretty large company at 19 billion euro in revenue. We design a lot of different things and build different things like electrical systems, and we have services arms around aerospace, defense, transportation, and then also in security markets, which is part of the company I'm in and what we're talking about here. And we tend to have significant market share in all of the segments that we compete in. In early April of this year, we completed an acquisition of a company called Gemalto, which is a pretty decently sized security company that was well established, and the combination of Gemalto's data security segment and Thales eSecurity, which was our security portion of Thales. That's the security portion of our company that we have now at Thales. So we're talking about on-premises data protection, cloud data protection, that type of thing, and we have a broad portfolio of that. If you go to the next slide, Bob, I'll talk about the portfolio in one slide here. This is a snapshot of our solution areas, and the overriding themes of what we address are security, compliance, and trust. And if you look at sort of the top half of the circle, you can see our primary security areas, and those are things like cloud data, PKI, IoT, big data, payments, multi-cloud key management. Those are sort of the spaces we're in. And then the products that we have that sort of deliver security within those spaces are in the bottom half of this circle. And so you can see things like key management, access management, transparent encryption, hardware security modules, WAN encryption, application crypto, and of course, for this discussion today, we're going to be focusing on hardware security modules in our joint solution here with Accellion. So next slide, Bob. So that's a little bit about who we are. So let's level set here what an HSM is, and you'll see a lot of recurring themes here because Bob's talked about it a little bit, and sort of I'm going to talk about it a little deeper here. But at a high level, think of HSMs as key vaults, hardened key vaults, basically, that provide high insurance encryption key protection. So if you're doing encryption, that's only part of the equation. What are you doing with these keys, and how are you protecting? How are you storing? How are you managing these keys? It's a huge deal. Some people would say, well, anyways, it's only as secure as all elements of your solution here. And so key management in this part is just as important as the encryption in the first place. Now, within an HSM, you can create and store encryption keys that are guaranteed to be unique and trustworthy. They can be secure, and in our case, private keys never leave the HSM. And all cryptographic operations performed on the HSM are trusted and protected from attackers. And again, the goal is to ensure attackers can't get your keys. And they are physical devices specifically built to protect keys in a hardware appliance that can't be compromised. And I'll talk about sort of reasons for that in a minute. But the idea is to create a tamper-resistant environment in which you perform cryptographic processes, things such as encryption and digital signing and things like that. And then also the idea is to centrally manage keys associated with those processes. So doing things like creation of keys, deletion, et cetera, and auditing and all that kind of stuff. And then the idea is to protect keys across their life cycle within all environments. So that could be on-premise, virtually, hybrid cloud, multi-cloud, any environment that someone might deploy this stuff into. Next slide, please, Bob. So why do I need an HSM? Here's the recurring theme: security and compliance. That's pretty simple. Large enterprises, financial institutions, governments. Those are all examples of people who buy hardware security modules, and they're buying them for a combination of two reasons: security and compliance, and in large part due to the breaches we hear about every day. That's the security part, of course. As a result, sensitive data and critical applications around the world are secured by always storing, protecting, and managing these sensitive cryptographic keys in a high security HSM. That gives you high assurance, tamper resistant, and it's based on hardware. That gives you the highest level of security of these keys. Next slide, Bob. Now, I'm not going to go through every one of these use cases, but this is a snapshot of how we rely on HSMs on a daily basis to ensure data and identity is secure. If you look at the payment area, we're not specifically talking about payments here, but on the top right, personal identification numbers, those are otherwise known as credit and debit card numbers. Those are secured generally in HSMs when somebody stores them. They are secured, the keys are secured by HSMs. But there's a whole lot of other areas that are secured by HSMs also, especially in any industry that's heavily regulated, financial services, banking, increasingly healthcare, a lot of government applications and that type of thing. Next slide, Bob. So let's talk about our version of an HSM, or our product line, briefly here, which is called Thales SafeNet Luna HSM. Luna HSMs offer a true hardware-based security through an indefinite number of use cases and the broadest partner ecosystem available. Again, the idea is to help meet security and compliance needs regardless of the industry use case, the compliance need, or wherever an application is run. Our Luna HSMs address, like I said, a number of use cases, things such as code signing, blockchain, IoT, PKI, data encryption, and other use cases. There's a lot of industries that we address with this product, pretty much every industry, but of course, financial, healthcare, anything using IoT, secure manufacturing, government, those are all good examples. It's an industry-leading solution that can be deployed on-premise, in the cloud, hybrid, multi-cloud. I think the highlights are we're storing keys in the hardware in our approach, in any HSM approach, which is ensuring that sensitive keys, data, and critical applications are secure by storing, protecting, and managing these cryptographic keys within the SafeNet Luna environment. These are high assurance FIPS 14-2 level 3 validated, which is the highest level of validation. They're tamper resistant, market leading. We have really high performance with very fast throughput. Some of the highest performance requirements out there we can address. We also have a large ecosystem of document and out-of-the-box technology partner integrations. So there's a lot of, the HSMs do not work in a vacuum. They're working in environments in every case with other applications and environments. Of course, Accellion is one of them, and that's what we're talking about here, so that's cool. And additionally, Thales is the only vendor that's able to secure customer keys as a service. So we do have an option for a service model here too. Next slide here, Bob. Now this is a snapshot of our product line. We offer a variety of models and form factors to choose from. Obviously, it's in order to best suit our customers' needs and budgets. They can choose from our enterprise grade SafeNet Luna HSMs. Is available in 3 form factors across the top. Highlights of these on-premises solutions include FIPS 140-2 validation, hardware-to-hardware backup, and centralized crypto management. And we also as I alluded to earlier, offer HSM as a service through data protection on demand. It's cloud-based service. I'm not going to go into detail on it here, but that's another option that is taking off. And we also offer entry-level HSMs that are fully customizable, as well as a crypto management tool that offers things like provisioning, monitoring, reporting, and alerting for our HSMs. I'll talk about those at the end of my slides here. But for this conversation, we'll be focusing on the SafeNet Luna Enterprise HSM, which specifically in the network version, which is integrated with Accellion. So that's the SafeNet Luna Network HSM on the top sort of left side here. Next slide, Bob. So let's talk a little bit about its capabilities. Luna HSMs provide, as I said, a secure crypto foundation for multiple types of environments, as the keys never leave this appliance. And again, it's FIPS 140-2 level 3 validated appliance. This is very stringent security that lets you always know where your keys are. The Luna HSM provides superior cryptographic performance, enables you to generate many keys very quickly to execute fast transactions. That's really critical. And in addition to addressing security, you can also address the compliance side, which I talked about before, being one of the drivers here, with things like auditing capabilities for FIPS, common criteria, HIPAA, PCI DSS, EIDAS, GDPR, those type of things. Those are all things that we address that are addressed within the HSM environment here. And I mentioned before our broad ecosystem. So the idea is to be able to integrate with over 400 of the most commonly used enterprise applications for things such as PKI, code signing, SSL, TLS, blockchain, IoT, database encryption, web servers, app servers, databases. It's a laundry list, litany of applications that we integrate with. Additionally, you can benefit from on-demand provisioning, monitoring, alerting of crypto resources that are, in a way that's easy to use. And the way we do that is by combining the Luna Enterprise with a thing we call the SafeNet Crypto Command Center, which is a management sort of environment for managing HSMs. And I'll touch upon that briefly in a minute. As I mentioned, the network version is the relevant product for Accellion, but there are a variety of models to secure crypto key lifecycle, secure your crypto key lifecycle, and provide a root of trust. It just depends on everyone's environment. But here with Accellion, we're talking about the network version, which is our full-on enterprise product. And again, we're talking about scalability for virtual as well as cloud environments. One interesting or important capability is we can separate our network HSMs in up to 100 different cryptographically isolated partitions, with each partition acting as if it was an independent HSM. So a single HSM can act as a root of trust that protects the keys, the cryptographic key lifecycle of hundreds of independent applications. So it really provides you with a tremendous amount of scalability and flexibility. And keys and partitions are cryptographically separated from each other. So it's really enabling enterprise and service providers to leverage the same hardware for multiple tenants as well as multiple applications. Next slide, Bob. So I mentioned management of HSMs, and the way we do it here is with a product we call SafeNet Crypto Command Center. And basically it centralizes crypto management and specifically HSM resources in a centralized management solution for our Luna HSMs. And it does it in a way that helps, well, being centralized, it's in a virtual environment. It'll help ultimately with infrastructure costs and efficiencies of management. So IT security departments or service providers can quickly and securely expand their capabilities, gain visibility, and streamline infrastructure, regardless of if the environment's physical, cloud, hybrid, or virtual. And it's the market's first solution in this area, and it's really that can really exploit the benefits of virtualization. And again, the idea is reducing costs and spurring innovation without compromising any security or compliance. And the combination of the Luna HSMs with our Crypto Command Center forms sort of one complete solution for managing the crypto resources and on a single hypervisor. And this is delivering on demand. The idea is to be able to deliver on demand provisioning of crypto resources and data protection that can happen in minutes rather than days, while allowing the application data owners to really maintain full control of their encryption services and data. So that's a brief overview of HSM, who we are, HSMs, specifically our HSM, which is Luna, and then also our Crypto Command Center. I'll hand it over to Bob to talk about our integrated solution and a little more specifics. Bob.
Thanks, Mark. All right. So I want to give you a little bit of a background on how actually the Accellion product uses the HSM and how that increases your security and compliance. Before I do that, though, first I want to talk about just the Accellion product as it is. And obviously this is very oversimplified, but the main point here is that when we've got files encrypted in the system, it's AES 256 encryption. We also have the FIPS 140-2 certification for people who are in U.S. federal markets and need that level. Within the product, the encryption keys are separated from the storage of the data itself. And in fact, they're layers of encryption. It's not like they're their set of keys laying around on the disk that you use. There's a lot to the process of finding the keys, decrypting the keys, all the different layers of things that are going on there. The other thing is because the keys are partitioned from the data storage, if you have a clustered configuration, most likely you're going to cluster it in a way that you put those keys in a completely different node of the cluster than where you're storing data, the nodes where you're storing that. And so that provides another layer of protection there. And those of you who administer the product know that you can go in once a month or whatever your interval is and rotate one of the seeds of the keys so that the keys are continuously changing. But then when you add that HSM into it, a number of really good things happen because, first of all, you've added another layer of keys that exist in a different server, and therefore, somebody who's a hacker who's trying to break into the systems needs to get into both to get anywhere, and both are hardened, and of course, you've seen that the Thales server is actually tamper-proof, so the level that people would have to go to do that are just extremely high. And because of the way that the transfers happen, the keys actually stay in the two different boxes. And what's passing through the encrypted tunnel between them is cleverly designed so that a man in the middle sort of an attack can't really do anything with it either. And so things are just at a very, very high level of protection once you add that HSM into the picture. And we're using that every single time somebody uploads and downloads. You have to make that extra trip into that other server to get that information that you need in order to encrypt or decrypt the files. Now, as Mark pointed out, we support one of the Thales products. The reason that we only support the one is that that's the one that's at the enterprise level, and also because we deliver a virtual machine, there's no place to put a PCI card, and there's not really a USB that you can connect it into. It has to be the one that's connected over the network, and that's why this is the specific one that we've chosen to support. But hooking up to it is extremely easy. Those of you who are admins and have hooked up to things like LDAP and so on, it's a very similar kind of administrative process that doesn't take very long at all. The product already understands, it already has the client built into it that knows how to communicate with the Thales HSM. We still say Gemalto on the screen just because that was designed before the acquisition. But you just put in some identifier for the host, IP address or host name. There are certificates at both ends that you need to pass back and forth to set up the trust relationship. So there's no simple way for anybody to hack into that interface. And remember, Mark talked about the fact that the HSM actually supports 100 different partitions for different applications. So you have to know which one of those partitions you're using, enter that number in here, and each one has its own password. So that's something that you enter here as well. And typically what you're going to do, if you've got a cluster of Accellion appliances, what you're going to do is click this box down in the corner that applies those settings to all of the hosts so that they can talk to that HSM that's out there. And it's that easy. So not much to say about that. Now we've got a few minutes left. Let's see here, we've got some questions that came in while we were talking. First one, Mark, I'm going to give to you. And I'm going to paraphrase it as, does the Accellion integration support the Thales HSM's high availability architecture? And it looks like that also has failover. Does the Accellion box support that?
Yeah, yeah, excuse me. Yeah, our architected high availability really presents a single logical device to the client. So the beauty is the HSM cluster and failover are completely transparent to the Accellion virtual machine. So, yep.
Okay, and another one is, does the Accellion integration support the backup mechanism that the Thales HSM has? And that's another one for you, Mark.
Yeah, that's another instance where this capability is completely transparent to your virtual machine.
Okay, and question for me, how's this licensed? Is it an extra charge? And the answer is no. If you have an enterprise license, it's included. There are no options required there. And I can just kind of skip ahead. There's another one that's more for me, which is, can we use this with cloud-based Accellion VMs? And yeah, the answer is yes. I mean, we actually have a lot of customers who do this with LDAP or Microsoft AD, and it's a similar solution there. You're going to have the HSM on premise, right? Because it is a hardware box, and so even if you've got Accellion running on, say, Azure or AWS, you're going to have to provide the tunnel that tunnels back to wherever you have that hardware box, but it works just fine. In fact, you can even have a hybrid situation. I know a lot of our customers do this today with LDAP, where they'll have some Accellion nodes on-prem, and then they'll have other Accellion nodes in, say, AWS, and the LDAP is on-prem. They'll just, that works very seamlessly. You can do the same thing here, and our S-user support can help you get that configured correctly. And here, Mark, here's one for you. Do I need to buy a new Thales HSM for this?
Well, if you already own a SafeNet Luna HSM that has unused or available partitions in it, then no. And keep in mind that, we're Thales, but if you might have bought it from Gemalto prior to the acquisition, and so that's fine. You don't have to rebuy it just because we changed our name there. Okay.
Okay. And let's see here. Here's one. Let's see. How are Accellion keys and HSM keys used? Are all encryptions done using a combination of both? Do some use local keys? I mean, if you want to go into depth on that, we're going to have to do an NDA discussion. But at the high level, what we can say is that yes, all encryptions are done with a combination of keys from both boxes. And there's no way, like if that's why it's important that your HA environment works with your HSM box, that the high availability failover works and the backup works, because if that box goes down, the Accellion box, yes, it has some local keys, but that's not enough to do the encryption and decryption. So, I mean, that's kind of a vague answer because this is a public webinar, but if you want more details on that, you can contact support or your sales engineer, and they can give you the details under an NDA. And then there's one more question I'll have to get back. There's one that goes beyond my level of knowledge here that I'll have to have a technical person get back on. So I think we're out of time here, and I think we got all of the questions. So Mark, thank you for appearing on our webinar. I think our customers appreciated it. We had actually some really good questions come in over the wire here. And if we're going to post this, we're also going to send the slides to the people who attended. If you have any more questions, feel free to get a hold of us. Either you can go to a chat on our website, you can respond to me at the email address that's shown there at the bottom, and we'll get you to the right person. And basically, any way you respond, we'll get back to you. We'll get the right person to you to help you with your issues. Mark, thanks a lot for appearing.
You're welcome. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, everyone, for attending.
All right. Thanks, everyone.